Welcome to the Global Thinking Academy module on Scenario Development. For this module, you will listen and view the presentation, complete readings or other assignments as instructed during the presentations, and complete the quiz. There are 3 learning objectives for this module. Participants will develop an understanding of the components of scenario development. Participants will be able to identify each of the 18 components of scenario development. Participants will be able to assess learning modules for scenario development components. Watch the video in Canvas that describes scenario planning in the context of environmental management. 18 steps are associated with scenario planning, and those 18 steps are divided into 4 phases. The first phase is getting started. Make sure the environment is ready to begin scenario planning. There are several steps associated with scenario planning before we begin developing scenarios. The second phase is laying the environmental analysis foundation. The scenario team prepares for the scenario plans by gaining knowledge, information, and expert insight by research and respects the views of the key thought leader during this phase. Developing scenarios is the third phase. The focus of the scenario should be clear, and the key decision factors should be the main topics of scenarios. Progressing from scenarios to a resolution is the final phase of scenario planning. This step is key to student learning. We must enable students to develop solutions for the challenge associated with our respective reusable learning object for scenario development to be achieved. Circumstances must be appropriate for scenario planning and benefits must be clear to outweigh the costs. Do you have the resources to conduct scenario planning? How could you communicate the benefits to scenario planning? Gain upper management support. You need immediate supervisors on board before you begin to develop a scenario. This helps to establish organizational credibility in what you are doing and the results that will be produced from the scenario development. Find who would be best to lead the scenario planning. Those who are at a senior level, responsible, and trustworthy executives are expected leaders of developing case scenarios. Senior executives must gain a clear understanding and commit to the scenario planning. Plan for meetings and trainings for the company to go over the details of the process in regards to success and complications that will arise. Write a detailed explanation, usually about 1 page, of the decision focus. The focus needs to be agreed upon with the executives or individual in charge. Next, design and create the process of the scenario development. Create the logistics for the scenario team. Make a schedule and budget to accomplish the scenario focus. Let's make this more practical to you. Outline the process of the scenario development for a lesson in one of your classes. Describe the logistics for the team of students to accomplish the development of the scenario. Make a schedule and budget that might be needed to develop the scenario. Fill the key facilitator position based on certain qualities and strengths. The qualities and strengths vary between the content and contextual environment. The senior executive of the organization agrees upon who the facilitator is. This is important to establish organizational credibility and add value to the results. In a classroom setting, the instructor can be the senior executive that assigns key facilitators, or the class can assign or recommend key facilitators among the group. The executives build the scenario team based on the requirements the organization has set. The executive in this case would be the instructor. A scenario team is made up of 8 to 12 members who have different viewpoints and expertise. The scenario team prepares for the scenario plans by gaining knowledge, information, and expert insight by research and respects the views of the key thought leader. Create a hard copy or an e-binder with all of the new information and research to proceed to the next step. The focus of the scenarios should be clear and stated. The key decision factors are the main subjects of the scenarios. Key decision factors keep the scenario team organized. Key decision factors help with making decisions with the future in mind. The scenario team must investigate the forces and drivers so they are prepared for the outcomes of the key decision factors. These forces and drivers define the scenario team's future. Now the scenario foundation has been set. The goal is to have all members with a clear understanding of how to deal with the future prospects that will affect the scenario. Develop a focus paper or PowerPoint, generally 3 to 6 pages or 10 to 15 slides, that describe future occurrences that could affect the scenario. Have the scenario team present this information face-to-face to produce the best results. Figure out and have a clear understanding of the uncertainties of the future. Determine the level of impact or importance and the degree of uncertainty. This will help the audience better understand the issue holistically. Find which uncertainties that will form the backbone of the scenarios. Examples of uncertainties would include specific aspects to food security or climate change issues. Write descriptions of the key axis of uncertainty. Description of the key axis should include all or most of the high-impact, high-uncertainty forces, ensuring all scenarios are unique, and logical consequences of the driving forces. Paragraph descriptions are important for documenting the discussion results and communicating key strategic issues for the organization. Create a set of alternative scenarios that would be understood by the employees and decision makers that describes what they should expect for the future of the organization. The scenarios should be made in a way that everyone can understand, learn, and use them in decision-making situations. Provide a storyline to the organization covering an overview of the alternative possible scenarios when something uncertain comes their direction. By writing a storyline, it allows the organization to know the differing scenario logics that might result in creating different futures. The scenario team is placed in decision-making roles in all of the scenarios to prepare for any new threats or opportunities that the future might bring them. Team members welcome a change of direction when there's a new trend or challenge. The members know what strategies would work best in different kinds of scenarios. Create a detailed analysis over the opportunities and obstacles that the scenarios caused. Make a list of anything the scenario team should change, if anything, to make the organization's scenario planning better. Identify the signs you should look for by reviewing the forces and drivers of the scenarios and the decision recommendations. Only look for signs for things that you can address and potentially identify a solution. Communication is a way of ensuring that the resources and process used in creating the scenario planning results were well invested. Designing the communication is challenging. Stay focused, stay organized, stick to what's important, and represent the scenario team. Use norms and practices that have the best results for the organization. Take a few moments and write down your answers to the following questions. Are there internal and external stakeholders that would be interested in the results? How would you communicate the results of the scenario to the respective stakeholders? Try to be specific. When you believe you have completed this activity, move on to the next slide. The text indicated on your screen by Ralston and Wilson provided the detailed scenario planning strategy discussed in this module. Included here are links to additional videos and attached publications from Burt and Vanderheiden and Cobb and Thompson of contextual scenario planning strategies. These resources are also provided for you in Canvas.